Here at the Russo-Souhan Show, we try to break news whenever we can, and Michael Russo is about to break one of the biggest stories, I don't know, of the year or of all time.
No, I think so. I usually break stories around free agency, so this is no different. And you and I were free agents up until a couple days ago. And after teasing it on Twitter and getting all Wild fans excited that I had this big Wild scoop, I actually have a Russo-Souhan Show scoop. We are finally back doing live shows twice a month, starting on Tuesday at 5:30 p.m., twice a month. Pay attention to Twitter. We'll be going to Dulono's Pizza, which is just this awesome place in downtown Minneapolis on 4th Street by Target Field. It's 5,000 square feet plus, full bar. By the way,
almost big enough to hold our egos.
Yes, exactly. Lunch buffet, $9.99, I think it is. You got pizza, sandwiches, salad. But what I love is TVs everywhere, pool tables everywhere, dartboards everywhere, game room.
Video
I won't
games.
be playing Pac-Man.
Bubble hockey,
Which
is my favorite game
it's
of
just
all
an
time.
awesome place, and we're just, Dulono's Pizza, it's been around for, 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're very honored and humbled that they have taken us on. And so twice a month, starting Tuesday at 5:30. Starting this Tuesday. It'll be different depending on our schedules as usual, but really hope that you guys that are loyal listeners of the Russo-Souhan Show come on out to our first show. What's really neat is where we're going to be doing the show. It's this gigantic table, so we can have Vicky and Clyde right there looking at us. So it's going to be really awesome to just kind of be back live with our Wild brethren.
Dulono's Pizza, you probably remember it from its Uptown days when it was pretty famous. They have moved downtown 118 North 4th Street. That's 4th with a numeral 4. 118 North 4th Street, Minneapolis. I believe isn't that where the old Sawati used to be, or am I getting that wrong?
Not sure.
Okay, but anyway, you can Google it. You can go to their website, which is DeLano'sPizza.com. Again, 118 North 4th Street. We'll be there at 5:30. They have happy hours, 3 to 7 every day, $3 domestic bottles and taps, $3 wells, $1 up appetizers. They also deliver to a huge area, basically all the way down south to the Crosstown, out to 100, up to 55, up in Northeast, up to again, check out their website. It's a huge delivery area. I've always loved their pizza. I'm going to tell a story I know about Dulono's when we get together on Tuesday. So come out and join us. Dulono's is joining our growing list of sponsors, including Twill in the Dining Galleria, FixologyRepair.com, and Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin. We're adding a couple more sponsors here coming up in the next couple of months. So good times for the Russo-Souhan Show. We appreciate all the support that's helped us get us this far. Check out all the shows at talknorth.com. Download for our sake. It's good for our business. Download before you listen for your sake because it's a better listening experience. No Wi-Fi interruptions. It doesn't matter if you have coverage. You're going to be able to get through the whole show. Check out all that. And now let's get to some hockey very quickly. Free agency, Michael. Is something happening behind the scenes? Is it going to be quiet? What's the outlook for the Wild?
It's a good question. I just wrote this gigantic kind of piece. And by the way, when I wrote this piece, I was on 3 Americanos at Starbucks.
Oh, it had to be good then.
So there are a lot of weird kind of comments in there and jokes and...
It's what we come to expect.
I let out for the first time publicly that James Neal hates me, that type of stuff.
You've said that before on the podcast.
Yeah, on the podcast, but never in print.
Right.
The podcast just goes off into oblivion.
Yeah, nobody listens.
Actually, that's radio. Podcast kind of listens forever.
Actually, people go back and listen over and over.
Yeah. So it is. I definitely. You'll see. It's a laid back read, and it was kind of fun to write, but it might piss off Wild fans because look, the way that I wrote this is I'm not going to sit there and say the Wild can go after James Neal, James Van Riemsdyk, David Perron, Tyler Bassett, Bozak, Patrick Maroon, Brooks Orpik. These guys yet, because the way I'm figuring is that, and this could be outdated by the time this podcast comes out, is that until the Wild make a trade, their cap space is what it is on Sunday. And so if they haven't made a trade as of Sunday, at least on that day, we have to assume, and frankly, they have to assume, that they're going to re-sign Zucker and Dumba. So that's right there about $10+ million. And then what do you have left is about, it's 7, but it's really a little less because you got to save money for players to get injured and internal changes. Now, my guess is in the next 2 days, either Friday or Saturday, they're going to begin the buyout process to create another $2.4 million on Ennis. But what I'm saying is that right now, writing this, I had to look more at everybody's favorite word, tweaking. And when I started talking to a lot of agents this week and started asking about the big names, I was given every indication, frankly, on every big name, supposed big name. Because, these players that are available in free agency right now are not players that you really want to overspend on the vast majority. And it just seemed to me that they weren't asking around on the big players. I will say James Neal is the one guy I can't figure out where he's going. His agent has gone off the beat. His agent, who I'm tight with, is just like MIA right now. I know his son graduated from law school yesterday or something, but he hasn't texted anybody I know back. I was just talking to an NHL insider on the way here. He's like, "What the hell? Where is this guy?" And they're being quiet with him. But my point is that Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet wrote last night that the Wild were interested in Greg Patterson, and Elliot rarely writes something without it being true. I mean, he's the one that first had Tom Curvers come in here, and when he writes it, you just know that it's happening. And so, I talked to Patterson's people close to Patterson, and it looks like it's definitely going to happen. So what they're doing there is obviously getting a much more physical right shot defenseman than Prosser, and they're either exceeding their depth or expanding their depth, or they are getting maybe some insurance if they traded Spurgeon or Dumba. But I think that all Wild fans now, I can't profess to say that I know everything about Greg Patterson, or even if I'm pronouncing his name right, Jim. But you still there?
Well, it's a tradition on this podcast to mess up pronunciations all the time. So it's just what we do.
Yeah, but
it's our thing.
But it is funny. I mean, he sounds like kind of right shot, almost like Clayton Stoner type guy. I talked to some people that know him today really well, and they like him. They like him as a player. He played regularly, really, for the first time last year with the Dallas Stars. 6'3", 220 pounds, physical, decent shot, really shoots, can get to the puck, and seems like from the scouting report, kind of what the Wild could use on a back end that is very, very non-physical and frankly small. So we'll see if it works. But what it does is it tells you they're either getting insurance or Prosser's going to be the seventh D, or eventually after training camp put on waivers again. And knowing Pross, he'll wind up in St. Louis rather than Iowa. Left shot D, they have called on some. I just don't see a priority there, but maybe they're going to sign somebody. But the one thing that when I look at their depth chart right now, I see right shot center as a definite need. They've definitely talked to Riley Nash. Nash had a great year with Boston, was loved there by the coaches, but wants more term and money than Boston can give, and frankly, that could keep him from Minnesota. But you look at Nashville's history, and all the big guys that they sign, a lot of them are with his agent, Kurt Overhart. So there's a good relationship between Paul Fenton and Kurt Overhart. So maybe Riley Nash makes sense. The problem that I see there, and I wrote this in my story, is Joel Eriksson Ek, they want playing third-line center, not fourth-line center. Well, Riley Nash is more of a third-line center. Is he going to come here if all of a sudden he might wind up playing the fourth line? And they don't want Eriksson Ek playing the wing. And so it just doesn't, the fit from Nash's point of view, from the Wild point of view, it'd be a good get. But from Nash's point of view, I'm not positive that he would want to come here if he just scours the depth chart. But I will say, if I'm the Wild, I'd be a little scared of just saying Eriksson Ek and anointing him the third line center. To me, he didn't show enough to just warrant that next year. But at some point, you got to give him the role. If you're wasting him if you're playing him on the fourth line.
Great thing about doing this show is I went up to my apartment, I did my taxes, I came back down, and Michael was just finishing the answer. That was good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, one other note about Dulono's Pizza. You can follow them on Twitter at Dulono's Pizza. It's an easy way, and DULONOS Pizza. Easy way to keep track of our schedule at the pizzeria. Also find out about their specials. They do a bunch of trivia stuff. They have happy hours and lunch specials. A good way to keep track of an organization that's helping us out a lot. Let's get to our primary sponsor. Dulono's is our hosting sponsor. Our primary sponsor is Twill in the Edina Gallery. Check them out at twillmn.com. Twill on Instagram. I've told you about Scott Dayton and his shop. It's a great place to shop. It's the nicest mall in the Twin Cities. It's the easiest mall to get in and out of. Parking right there. You're just never far away from the front door. And it's a really pleasant shopping experience at Twill. They're really relaxed. They have just, along with all the other stuff that we tell you about in their ads, they have just cool stuff. They have a garment bag that rolls up into a duffel bag. They have hand-stitched belts made in Vietnam. They're always bringing in new and creative designers, and I wear a lot of the stuff. So check out twillmn.com.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
What's going on with Ennis?
I'm just laughing at Twitter. So my entire story. Are you familiar with the rating system on athletic stories?
Yes.
It's like meh, good, and awesome or something. Yep. So my whole story is I'm just going to not beat around the bush. You're going to rate this story meh. When you see the names, it's going to be meh, and I put meh everywhere. So somebody on Twitter, Jeff Taylor, just sent me a screen capture of the meh button. The people at The Athletic, there is a rating system that somehow the guys at The Athletic are their analytics people. So there is a rating. They get a number of what these stories are rated, and tomorrow they're going to see mine and wonder why the heck is this the lowest rated story in The Athletic history? And it's almost because I dared everybody to give me a bad rating.
I don't think meh should be the lowest rating.
Yeah, I agree with you. It should be
or it should be bleep you. I'm going to. Well, I mean, I know. If the Star Tribune had a rating system on my columns, we'd need something much stronger than meh for people to feel satisfied.
That is very good. That is very true.
What's going on with Ennis?
My guess is that by the either Friday or Saturday they're going to pull the trigger. I thought it could happen today, but again, I mean, if you're Paul Fenton and you're trying to throw him into a trade, if you can buy him out Saturday. Why pull the trigger now if there's maybe the outside chance you could toss him in a deal here in the next 2 days? So, the way I understood it, so buyout window ends on June 30th, but I have been told that you can actually put the person on buyout waivers on June 30th and buy him out on July 1st, and it's still good in the first window. So my guess is Friday or Saturday, Ennis will get a phone call from the Wild.
Is there any way he's still on the roster this season?
I don't think so. I will say the way the depth chart lines up, I mean, he does fit on the third line left wing, but I think it's time to give him a new chance. I mean, Bruce doesn't have any faith in him, doesn't want to play him. So why do it again? It's $4.6 million. It makes no sense to keep him and bury him in the minors because it's more cap space that would be charged to you. And, again, if you have plans to make moves here in free agency, it makes sense to buy him out. If all of a sudden they look and they're like, wow, there are no top six forwards to get him, we don't think we're going to make a trade, maybe it makes sense to keep him. I will say, if I'm a Wild fan, I know Wild fans hate to hear wait a year, but I was looking at the free agents that are at least free agents next season today, or I was looking at them this week. And guys are going to be re-signed any day now, the Logan Coutures of the world. But next season's free agent list is so much more appetizing than this. But a lot of those guys are going to be re-up. But it would be, you don't want to waste your cap space on a bunch of meh players right now if you can maybe hit a home run next year. So, just to spend cap space for the sake of it makes no sense to me.
Tell me what's going on with the front office, who's going to do what the hierarchy is, and if it's set now or if we still have some departures on tap.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tommy Curvers is in. His first day was Monday. It wasn't announced till Tuesday. But again, Elliot tweeted that out. And I had heard rumblings at the draft, but then I saw him go up to the Tampa's table. So then I'm like, all right, I guess this is just a bad rumor. But then I learned after the fact, I never looked again, that he never sat at Tampa's table the whole time because it was already in the works that he was coming to Minnesota. Curvers makes sense. I think he's a great hockey guy. He's local. He knows Fenton. He gets along with Fenton. He's another outside eyes. He's somebody that's seen the Wild a gazillion times in the last 20 years, 18 years that they've been in existence. So, I just think he's going to have a good grasp on the team. And we all knew that eventually he was going to have his own right-hand man. Now, I will tell you, it has become